Hi, this is Quinlan, and today I wanted to introduce another adventure guide here in North Japan. Katie, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Katy. Originally from Australia. I've been in Japan for 17 years now, and of that, the majority has been here in Iwate. I enjoy being outside, mostly anywhere near water is my favorite place to be, but I love walking along the Michinoku Coastal Trail as well.
Right, so of the two outdoor adventure guides in this northern Tohoku area, she's the ocean and I'm the mountains. And what first brought you to Japan?
Originally, I came over to study, to learn Japanese, and as well as I was learning hotel management. So I worked in a hotel for a while. The original plan was to go back to Australia and work in a hotel there, but I just fell in love with Japan and stayed on.
And one question that a lot of people ask me is about learning Japanese. And so, how is it that you got to be so good at Japanese?
I was pretty lucky. We had a Japanese class in elementary school in Australia from
Element.
yeah, from grade 5 or 6, and so I stayed all the way up there, and then did exchange in high school and exchange in university, and then started working in a Japanese company where I was the only foreigner, so kind of had to learn pretty quick.
Okay, I don't feel so bad now. Well, wow, exchange. So in high school, you literally like went to Japan.
I'd finished my high school in Australia, and then in my gap year, I came to Japan and went to a high school there for a whole year, and the first exchange student at that school. So that was a lot of very fast learning curve, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Okay, so if you're interested in learning Japanese, just do that. Easy. So, like me, you are a guide, specifically an outdoor guide here in northern Japan. Could you briefly explain the type of thing you do in concrete terms?
Yep. So I work at a travel agency, and I do everything from planning the tours, then booking the tours, and then going out and taking people on the tours. So anything to do with travel in Japan, pretty much we do.
Nice. So I'm mostly just out in the field doing the guiding, but you're doing that and creating them. If someone was interested in coming and working in the inbound tourism industry, that's what we call it here, that travel industry, what advice would you give someone who's, say, now in Australia or the United States or something and wants to come over and work in tourism? Is there any advice you would give them?
You'd need to know a little bit of Japanese, always does help. Otherwise, just travel around yourself. Go and usually the things that you enjoy the most are things that people are going to enjoy as well. And they're usually not the big things that everyone is going to. So try and get off the beaten track a little bit and explore by yourself. And yeah, pretty much that.
Okay, but exploring sounds like a fun thing to do, but how would they look for jobs or get experience or well, how did you get a job? Because you work for a company. I'm self-employed. Now I came to it in a kind of roundabout weird way. I think you did it a more traditional way. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anything slightly more concrete you would tell about how someone would find a job in the travel industry?
For me, it was mostly because I could actually speak Japanese, and I had already traveled around a lot by myself. So I knew a lot of different places in Japan. Um, Pretty much, to work in most Japanese travel agencies, you need to speak Japanese. So it's best if you can take, the N2 or N1 if you can, something like that. And then otherwise, really just learning about Japan, the culture and things like that are always good things to know about in creating tours and things like that.
So for your current job, how did you like? There's a Japanese site called Hello Work. Did you literally just look on like Hello Work and find it?
Yeah, I looked on Hello Work, but I actually found this job by chance by typing into Google search Morioka travel guide, and then it came up, and yeah,
Wow.
really randomly found the job. Yeah.
And then you sent them an email. You called them up.
Yeah, I sent them an email with my resume on it, and then they called me up, and yeah.
The rest is
Rest is history.
history. Right now, there's been a lot of news in, we call it Gaijin Twitter, but there's a lot of viral photos going around of tourists behaving badly. Well, both two things. One, do you have any crazy stories about tourists behaving badly that you've personally witnessed? And two, what advice would you give people who are planning to just travel to Japan on not making an ass of themselves?
I've been pretty lucky. I haven't seen too much really bad behaviour from foreign tourists. But for people that are travelling here, if you would do it in your own backyard, fair enough. But don't do something you wouldn't do in your own backyard, or you wouldn't want someone to do in your own backyard when you're overseas. And that's generally a rule that you can go by, and you won't get into too much trouble.
Common sense.
Yeah.
As an outdoor guide in this region of northern Japan, what is one outdoor activity or day? How would you say someone who's into, say, hiking and kayaking and all these things, what would you tell them is one thing they definitely can't miss in this region of northern Japan?
Can I make it two?
Go ahead.
All right. First thing would definitely be the MCT. You just got to come and have a walk along this. more specifically the northern section. Anywhere along the northern section is so much fun. So many different things that you can see and different activities you can do as you're doing it. And the second one would be go to Jorogahama, do sea kayaking, because it is absolutely amazing. That would be my two big things.
Yeah, the sea kayak in Jorogahama. The guy, Suzuki-san, who
Suzuki-san,
runs that, he's great. And then not just Jorogahama, but of course you've done everything. You've done the
Takonohama.
Takonohama. Yeah, I have to agree that's that's amazing. Yeah, definitely. And the MCT. So my favorite part of the MCT, it's some of you who've seen my other videos might know too, but that's the place between in Tanohata Village, the Kitayama Hama area with the two tunnels, and then Unosudangai and the view from the Kitayamazaki Cape. Those sort of areas plus Jorogahama is my favorite little blips on the MCT. What are yours?
That's a really hard question. There are so many amazing spots. If I'm in for adventure, that is definitely the spot to go. If I'm into more looking for flowers today or something like that, then it would be the very top section up in Tanesashi Kaigan, because they have the most amazing flowers. Not just the coastal flowers, they've got alpine flowers as well, which you normally wouldn't be able to see in that kind of spot. And then my other favourite spot would be down a little bit further in the Matsushima Bay. They've got the islands, the Uroto Shoto Islands, and you can get on these little fishing boats from the guys, and they'll take you around to the different islands, and you walk along the islands, and that's just a lot of fun down there.
Like me, you were here during the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami. Maybe the ever-present question, but where were you on that day?
Okay, I was actually living in Hokkaido then. I was in Sapporo. I was working at a hotel, and I was in the lobby of the hotel, and everything just started shaking. Obviously not as bad as down here, but it was enough to really shake. The chandeliers were shaking around, and we had to stop guests from getting on the elevators and things like that. And then because everyone knew that my family was in this area, they showed us videos of what it was, and it just looked like Armageddon or something like that on TV. It was hard to believe what was actually happening down here.
Right. Wow. I hadn't thought even in Sapporo you would have felt it strongly then. Yeah. You knew what happened sooner than me because given that I was here, we had no power for 3 days, so I didn't get to see TV until the following Monday afternoon because it happened on Friday, right?
Yeah. So we were pretty lucky. We got the shakes and everything like that, but nothing anywhere near as devastating as what happened down here. We saw what was going on. Meanwhile, you guys had no power, no anything, so you couldn't tell what was going on until a lot later.
But even so, of course, I should stipulate, I was inland, of course. I was in the middle of the mountains, so there was no danger for anywhere where I was. So you have a lot of experience working in Japanese companies. A lot of people abroad have the impression that the workplaces in Japan are fairly sexist. What's your experience in that regard, working in Japanese companies as long as you have?
Yes, well, I've actually only ever worked in Japanese companies. And yes, to an extent, that is very true. You often see that there is a very male-dominated hierarchy within a company, and it's very hard for a lady to get up to a position of higher levels. I've noticed that in each of the companies I've been in.
Do they ever make you make coffee and bring it out, even though it's not your job, something like that?
Not coffee, but green tea, yes. Yes, you'll be the person that will come in and bring the tea for the people in the meeting.
And guys never do that?
Oh, no. And answering the phone is a girl's job because apparently it's better to have a girl answer a phone first than a guy.
Have you felt, I guess I've heard a lot of people talk about, maybe, I'm not sure if glass ceiling is the right word, but like women prevented from being promoted because it's presumed they're just going to get married and have kids and quit, something like that. Do you see in the company, even if not your own experience, you see other women who are, you think, not going as high just because they're women?
Yeah, I've definitely seen things like that. And it's, I know it is a very Japanese cultural thing, but it is, a very sad thing to see in this day and age.
Cultures are made to change anyways, right?
Exactly.
They're not walking around with the samurai hairstyle anymore. Japanese culture can change and still be Japanese, yeah. Given the exchange rate and the various industries, if you were talking to a younger niece or nephew, a cousin, someone who was in university, going to graduate soon, and they were interested in some aspect of Japanese culture. Maybe they love Pokemon or manga or samurai or whatever, or food. And they were thinking about moving here. Would you tell them to, yes, definitely come live in Japan? Or would you say, no, just work in Australia, make lots of money and visit Japan?
That's a really hard question. I think it depends how passionate they are about Japan. It's definitely something I think they should experience while they're young and can still survive on a really, really cheap salary. So I wouldn't be against them coming and staying for a few years and seeing how that goes. But if they want to, raise a family or something like that, they're probably better off being overseas in some respects.
True. You're Australian. I'm American. And so healthcare in the States is stupid expensive and Japan is great, but it's free in Australia, right?
I'm not sure what it is at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that children are free to some extent. Yeah.
And then one last thing, since your company that you work for now does tours all over Japan, and so you're familiar with beautiful places and interesting culture, et cetera, everything, not just up here. What would you say is the selling point of sort of this northern area of Japan that I'm always raving about?
Definitely the fact that we don't have the crowds. Like, we walked today and we met, I know, 3 people on the trail, and they're all Japanese people. And so you can see this natural beauty and not have to share it with everybody. And the people here are just so lovely. Like, everyone you meet, they're like, oh, hello, and you have a little chat. And yeah, it's just really nice to have that kind of connection with the local people here. So you can get that, and you've got the nature, and you've got the no crowds. I mean, great food. There's not really much that you don't have up here.
I guess just the really famous sort of brand name things, because the stuff that is really gorgeous here isn't necessarily world famous, right? Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for answering some questions. And my very first chance interview, I feel a little bit stiff in the shoulders here, but yeah, thanks a lot. Really
No
interesting.
worries. Thanks very much.
Sure. I hope this was fun and interesting to watch as well. If you have any other questions for her, feel free to write them in the comments, and I can probably get her to answer them for you. And if you have anyone else that you would like, or types of people you would rather like to have interviewed up here, feel free to comment with that also. I thought I would experiment with doing this sort of interview format. I'm up for doing Japanese people, it just means got to do subtitles, right? And yeah. You want to help? No, I'm just kidding. I'd have to pay. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.